Tanse, I'm Chris Sanachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. Thank you for joining us. A northern Manitoba First Nation is preemptively planning to evacuate some of its community members as wildfires in the area inch closer to the only road out of the community. The Nisitchewayasik Cree Nation, located about 850 kilometers north of Winnipeg, has been under a state of emergency since Sunday. On Tuesday, it announced that Priority 1 evacuees will be evacuating to the nearby city of Thompson. Priority 1 evacuees include people with ongoing health conditions and medical needs. The wildfire near Thompson is more than 7,000 hectares in size and is out of control, according to a Tuesday announcement from the province of Manitoba. Thompson is also under a state of emergency due to wildfires, and city staff is asking people to complete a pre-planning registration form in case an evacuation happens. Nisitchewayasik leadership previously expressed outrage last Monday, saying there was at first a lack of action and empathy shown to them from Indigenous Services Canada, the First Nations Inuit Health Branch, and the Canadian Red Cross. Another First Nation in northern Manitoba is being evacuated due to wildfires. According to a post on social media from the Federal Minister of Emergency Management and Community Resilience, the Canadian Armed Forces are assisting to evacuate people from Garden Hill First Nation. Snow Lake has also declared a state of emergency, with all non-essential personnel being ordered to leave the community by noon on Thursday. Manitoba now has 98 wildfires actively burning across the province. In a statement, Churchill Kiwetanuki Aski MP Rebecca Chartrand said, "Our communication is ongoing at all levels, helping to address challenges in these unprecedented times." Yesterday, the federal government approved Manitoba's request for support from the Canadian Armed Forces to evacuate Garden Hill First Nation. Thank you to community leaders and CIF members for ensuring the evacuation proceeds safely. We are ready to provide further assistance if necessary. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew will speak to the ongoing wildfires in the province at 12:45 p.m. Winnipeg time. APTN Sav Jonesa will bring you an update from that news conference in our evening newscast. An elderly Indigenous man is looking for an apology after he was recently denied boarding a WestJet flight with valid identification. He says airlines need to be more knowledgeable about Indian status cards so people aren't pushed away for no reason. Sav Jonesa has that story.
69-year-old Lawrence Douglas Corbier loves to read his Bible. His faith recently brought him to a gathering in Quebec to connect with others through worship. He says it was a great trip until he tried to go home to Winnipeg and couldn't board his plane.
I didn't know what to do. I was getting kind of fearful. I don't know nobody in Montreal, and I was starting to cry almost on the inside.
Corbier tried to board his WestJet flight in Montreal using his Indian status card, a legally acceptable piece of identification for domestic travel, but the attendant wouldn't let him on the plane because she thought it was expired. He says she was looking at the wrong date, but she wouldn't listen to him.
It was getting kind of late. The plane is about ready to take off. Yeah. So all the others were going through. Yeah. So that I just put me to the side, and so I stayed there, and then after I was trying to talk to her again, and she was already getting ready to close.
WestJet ended up putting Corbier in a hotel near the airport and booked him a new flight the next evening. But the walking he had to do to get there and back was difficult on his legs due to complications from diabetes.
It was pretty hard for me. I had to stop along the way.
He says there was no longer an issue with his status card when he boarded the following day. He hopes airlines improve their staff's knowledge on acceptable identification and the different needs elders may have.
They need to say, "We're sorry, we pushed you to the side. Yeah. We could have got you on the plane just by looking at my status card up on top." Was that 29? Yeah. They didn't see that. They seen the bottom of it.
In an emailed statement to APTN News, WestJet says they have since apologized to Corbier. They say all of our airport and contact center staff receive training on what forms of ID are acceptable for air travel, which includes the Canadian Certificate of Indian Status. They also say WestJet will be reimbursing any out-of-pocket expenses associated with this travel disruption and offering compensation to Elder Corbier as a gesture of goodwill. Going forward, Corbier says he will stick with Air Canada for all his flying needs. Sav Jones, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
With much fanfare, the Native Women's Association of Canada announced the opening of a brand new elaborate headquarters in Gatineau, Quebec in June of 2022. But just 3 years later, this same building is now up for sale as the organization looks to refocus its priorities and shed assets. APTN's Fraser Needham reports.
It was a big grand opening in the early summer of 2022, and APTN News was there for the festivities. At the time, then CEO Lynn Grew said the new office cost about $9 million, but the organization believed it was well worth the investment. The 45,000 square foot facility had 5 floors adorned with Indigenous artwork from all over the world, with a number of cultural spaces, a gift shop, and kitchen. The organization said it would generate its own source revenue by hosting public and private meetings and selling artwork. But 3 years later, an ad on this real estate site says the NWAC building is now up for sale at just under $8 million. APTN reached out to NWAC and was told no one is available for comment. However, in an emailed statement, Chief Operations Officer Bev Dinsdale said the organization is looking to get back to its core mandate of advocacy. She added that another property, the Chelsea Resiliency Lodge, is in need of repair and will soon be listed for sale. The organization has also put out a tender for a community-based organization to manage its Resiliency Lodge in New Brunswick. The most recent audited financial statements on the NWAC website are for 2023. APTN also reached out to the former CEO Lynn Grew, who left the organization in the spring of 2024. In an emailed statement, she said during her time with the organization, NWAC demonstrated strong financial growth and annual surpluses. APTN News asked Indigenous Services if it was investigating NWAC's finances. It replied that the Government of Canada does not get involved in NWAC's internal governance matters and referred all questions back to the organization. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
This July 9th is a special day for people who call the territory of Nunavut home, as they are celebrating the signing of a landmark agreement. July 9th, 2025 marks the 32nd anniversary of the signing of the Nunavut Agreement between the Inuit of Nunavut and the Canadian Parliament, officially creating Canada's youngest territory. Communities across the territory celebrated with various events that included performances, dinners, and family gatherings. We have more news after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. A new company in British Columbia just got a major boost forward in their dreams of green hydrogen solutions to create power. APTN's Tina House has that story.
Here at this press conference at the Simon Fraser University, Salish Elements, a majority Indigenous-owned company, has just gotten a financial boost from the federal government through the Clean Fuels Fund to kickstart their green hydrogen fueling station network.
The federal government will be contributing $4.5 million to this clean energy project.
Salish Elements released this promotional video.
When I was a young man, I was told to go to the water, to let it guide me. I felt it move through me. It lives in all of us. Water is medicine.
Reuben George is the chair and co-founder of Salish Elements, and he's excited about the future.
We need this. We need a shift to harness the power out of water and to take it, to separate it, hydrogen and oxygen, take the hydrogen and use it for power, then it turns back into the water. We're a green energy company.
This rendering shows the 25 megawatt hydrogen production facility they will build on the land of the Hatlip First Nation near Lillooet, BC.
It's always talked about in our territory that we have to look after our water. So the ecosystem management plan, this I believe fits right in with it, because you know what, we're creating opportunity through hydrogen, creating fuel.
That fuel will then be distributed across BC, starting at the Port of Prince Rupert and extending through crucial areas including Prince George, Cache Creek, and Abbotsford. These fueling stations promote sustainable transportation and cuts emissions province-wide. Member of Parliament Terry Beach says this is a huge step forward for Canadians.
This means that we're going to be able to continue to grow the hydrogen infrastructure, which means that heavy equipment that doesn't have the ability to transition to electric vehicles will have a clean alternative. And what makes this project really unique is it's been Indigenous-led from the start, it's majority Indigenous-owned, but it's also servicing our remote and rural communities, and it's a huge economic opportunity for rural communities and rural Indigenous people.
Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
We now want to tell you about this week's third web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, should public inquiries into industrial disasters be mandatory when environmental contamination occurs? Your answers are yes, no, or unsure. Go to our website at www.aptnnews.ca/polls to have your say. Hockey sensation Gavin McKenna from the Yukon is leaving the Western Hockey League and heading to Penn State to play U.S. college hockey. The 17-year-old Trondheim citizen from Whitehorse, Yukon is likely to be the NHL's first overall pick in the 2026 draft. McKenna was a forward for the Medicine Hat Tigers for the past 3 seasons, where he scored 79 goals and 165 assists. He also represented Canada at last year's World Junior Hockey Tournament. Last year, the National Collegiate Athletic Association lifted a ban preventing Canadian Hockey League players from playing for U.S. colleges. Here's what McKenna had to say about the move.
I think it honestly just makes the jump easier. Going against older, heavier, stronger guys. I think it really prepares you. And, I think even in the locker room, hanging around older guys and being around more mature guys, I think that'll help me a lot. Obviously, the dub was a great spot, and I'm very grateful for what it did for me and my family. So obviously, I think both options were great, but I just think that going to college and, being in such a great conference, it'll really challenge me and prepare me.
To Australia now, where a major exhibition is showcasing the work of one of Australia's most internationally renowned art communities. Yolnu Power, the art of Yirrkala, features 95 Aboriginal artists connected to Yirrkala in the Northern Territory's Arnhem Land. The exhibition at the Art Gallery of New South Wales aims to showcase the continuation and diversity of the community's artistic practice from the 1940s to today. NITV's Sophie Bennett reports.
The sounds and passions of Yolnu country transported.
I can recognize straight away that is my mother's songs.
Jambawa is one of the artists whose work features in this exhibition titled Yolnu Power, the Art of Yirrkala. He's travelled from the Northern Territory's Arnhem Land to the Art Gallery of New South Wales to see 300 of the community's works brought together.
We are sharing the wisdom and the knowledge from the country through patterns and design.
The exhibition features artworks created over 8 decades, spanning multiple generations.
This one here, that's my wako. That's my mum. I get knowledge from my dad, my father.
Among the collection, different forms of art, from bark paintings to sculpture in both wood and metal, as well as prints and immersive digital installations.
This is one of the few exhibitions to look at the history of art making from the region in a really substantial and comprehensive manner.
Yirrkala artists were among the first Indigenous Australians to use art as a political tool, most notably through the Yirrkala bark petitions. sent to Parliament in 1963 as a formal request for the Yolngu people to have their land rights recognised.
Artists were fighting for rights to country, so many of the men encouraged all of their children to paint country, to document their title deeds to country in the hope that they could retain those titles to country.
Bark paintings from this collection were also used to support a claim for recognition of sea rights in the High Court in 1998, which was ultimately successful. The community's artistic practice is now being carried on through the next generation as Yökala artists continue to adapt and share their works. Sophie Bennett, NITV News.
Our next guest is up-and-coming social media star and influencer from the Ojibwe First Nation in southern Saskatchewan. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. Charlottetown 22, Halifax sunny and 18. Cartwright 20 and sun, Happy Valley Goose Bay 25. 22 in Quebec City and rain, Saguenay 20 and sun. Toronto 26, Sault Ste. Marie 18. Elliott Lake 23, Sioux Lookout 20. God's Lake 20, The Paw 21. 26 in Gimli, Barons River 21. 21 in Regina, North Battleford 17. 18 in Meadow Lake, LaRange 19 and sunny. 24 in High Level, Fort McMurray 24. 31 in Medicine Hat and sunny there, Calgary 26. 34 in Kamloops and Campbell River 27. 25 in Fort Nelson, Dease Lake 19. 20 in Dawson, Mayo 22. 24 in Fort Simpson, Yellowknife 22. 18 in Fort McPherson, Colville Lake 18. RV at 19, Chesterfield 16. And Arctic Bay 6, Iqaluit 12. Our next guest is an up-and-coming social media star from the Ojibwe First Nation in southern Saskatchewan. Recently healing from past trauma, Nova Lee Fox is now choosing to live a sober lifestyle and is using social media to share some of her Indigenous humor and stories on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And so far, her content has been a hit and gained her almost 28,000 followers on TikTok. And just recently, she did a comedy show for people in Peguis First Nation in southern Manitoba. We recently spoke to Nova Lee Fox. Here's that interview. Nova Lee Fox, thanks for making some time for us. Can you tell us when and why you decided to create funny videos and content on TikTok and social media?
It's kind of a sad story that turns out really beautiful. I've had a lot of death in the family this past 2 years. I had a cousin named Keheo who was a TikTok star, and I just wanted to I wanted to be a part of that with her, but she was already gone to the spirit world, so I feel that she lives through me through TikTok.
No, that's beautiful to bring her memory forward and do something positive and put some positive energy out there on social media in her name. Your stories and Indigenous humor is a hit, and you're almost at 29,000 followers on TikTok now. What has been the reaction from people when they run into you in person?
It is so crazy. As Indigenous people, we're told to be humble, right? And so it humbles me, and it kind of makes me feel like, holy cow, people actually care about meeting me. I'm just this girl on the reserve. I've been a res girl my whole life, and for them to be that happy to see me, it gives me butterflies. Actually, it's always kind of been my dream to do something with acting or with television, and TikTok and content creation helps me fulfill that dream.
And you recently went to Peguis First Nation here in Manitoba to do a comedy show there. How did that go?
Yeah. Man, I killed it. Like I said, we're supposed to be humble, but I'm going to let you know I made everybody laugh. You know what? They treated me so good there. When I got there, they had a shuttle service for us. They gave me my own tent. We did a meet and greet. They fed me and my kids. They treated us so good out there. I got a taste of it, and I loved it.
That's great to hear. And in your videos, well, it's a lot of fun and jokes with you and your family. You also share the theme of healing, living a sober lifestyle and recovery. Nova, can you tell us why that's so important to you?
It's really important to me. You have to be sober to connect with your ceremonial ways and connect with your roots to the ancestors. You know, when we look at the Western way of healing, it often isolates you, and in the Indigenous way, it always reminds you that you have a connection out there and you're connected with everything and you're never alone. Those old teachings, they bring back the memories of my kukum and my mushum, and some of within our teachings, we're always taught to that the most important institution is the family institution, and our children, they're like gifts. And when I'm neglecting my children, I'm neglecting me and my family, I'm neglecting myself and my personal medicine wheel. So it's important for me to break that cycle. After having all this death in my family, I want to break it. It ends right here. I want to have positive role models for my kids and my nieces and nephews, and that's why it's so important to me.
No, that's great messaging for you and your family and for all of us out there. I also want to ask you really quick, Nova, can you kind of explain who Kehiwin was in your life and how much she meant to you, and now that you're bringing, you know, her spirit forward through social media?
Keheo is a part of my life, my whole life. Just like everybody else with their cousins, we were at our kukum's house sleeping on a mattress on a floor in the basement. All of us were split up after our parents were incarcerated, and a lot of my cousins ended up in foster care. I was lucky enough to have my kukum and mushum here on the reserve, and I didn't end up in the system. So I always knew that Keheo was there. I missed her always, her and all my cousins. And when we turned 18, we reconnected again. And she was always there through the baddest breakups of my life. She was there through my hard times. She was there when I went missing from the hospital and helped find me. She's a sister to me, and me and her, had such funny banter together. We were hilarious.
Thank you for those stories. You also share happy, fun videos of you and your kids and nieces and nephews. Nova, can you tell us why Indigenous youth is so important?
Oh, it's so, okay. After losing all my cousins and my nieces and nephews are alone now. I was such a horrible auntie when I was using, and they all loved me. Prior to that, I was a good auntie. And I just want to be there for them, because it has to do, like I said, having those positive role models and not feeling alone in this world. Because how are we going to break those cycles if we don't help our youth? Like that old teaching, it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Halfway, yes. Well, Nova Lee Fox, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for your time, and we wish you all the best. That's your daytime newscast for this Thursday, July 10th. Dennis Ward is back for your evening newscast in a few hours, including an all-new segment of Truth in Politics. Please join us then. From our HQ in Winnipeg, Kwana Miigwech Masicho, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again. Ekse.